Hello and welcome to Intermission at Folk Night at the Registry. My name is Jan Vanderhorst, and it's my pleasure to talk right now with our featured performers, Maria Dunn and Joe Jencks. Welcome back to Kitchener.
Thanks, Jan.
Now, you're on a tour of Ontario, and this is not the first time you've done this. What was the whole idea of teaming up together to do a bit of touring?
We've enjoyed playing together over the years. We've had occasion over the last 5 or 6 years to probably do somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 or 25 concerts together in different contexts. And it always goes well. It's just good fun. So we knew that we had a show here in Kitchener for tonight that had canceled as a result of the pandemic. And so we had kind of moved the notion of a shared Ontario tour forward by 3 years. And here we are.
Now, Maria, your most recent album is Joyful Banner Blazing, which has done very well. It won a Juno Award. Yahoo! What was the reaction post the win, as far as attention that your music has received?
I was very fortunate that it had already received a lot of attention from folk DJs like yourself across the country and in the U.S. and Alberta-wide CKUA Radio, which is my home province. So it was kind of the year anniversary. So it was really nice to celebrate that. And so I guess for me, what I took out of it more was just the beautiful expressions of support and affirmation and congratulations from people that have been part of the process or supported the process or are fans of the music. And so that was just really beautiful. You know, it was the kind of the end cycle of the album in a way. Normally, you know, it was already the 1 year anniversary. The whole delay had been released in the first place because of COVID. And so it was just the icing on the cake.
And the cherry on top.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Joe, your most recent album just came out a few months ago. Is The Coming of the Years. It's the start of it takes from your travels to Ireland, leading music tours. Tell me about getting onto that journey of leading tours of your fans going through Ireland and discovering Ireland for the first time.
Well, so it starts long before the tours. That's sort of an artifact of the fact that I have been working in Ireland. But it started with meeting, the tour started with meeting Tom Pigott. I'll come back to that. I'm a dual U.S.-Irish citizen and grew up knowing this, but it was a bit of an artifact of family and geopolitical history. But I really wanted it to be something that was real. I wanted that to be something that was alive within me in my lifetime, not just family history. And so I started plotting how I could get to Ireland, spend more time there. And I met Tom Pigott, who was running these tours, working with musicians and getting us to round up some of our community, some of our fans to take tours. And he took a pretty serious loss the first time he brought me to Ireland, because we met at Folk Alliance at a conference, Folk Alliance International, and we were introduced, and he found out that I was an Irish citizen who had never set foot on Irish soil. And he took it as a personal offense. And he said, "Joseph, you'll set foot on Irish soil before the year is through. I swear it on my life." And he made good. October of that year, I was taking my first tour of Ireland, and he helped me set up some concerts, and also I brought some folks with me. And he was just such a stalwart supporter of the process for me of getting to know my other homeland, getting to know the place where I have another passport, you know, and that led me to trying to understand what is authentically Irish for me as a child of multiple cultures, but very much a child of the United States. You know, I have Canadian roots, a Quebecois grandmother, and, you know, but that hasn't been as much a part of my life. And so, you know, a lot of what Americans, what people in the U.S. embrace as Irish isn't really Irish. You know, it's like kind of the bizarre stereotypes that people over there think when they think of a Texan, perhaps, you know, like it's just somehow a little strange. And I got to know the music of Luca Bloom, and then eventually got to know Luca Bloom and become friends with him a little bit. And I started to see a model for writing about Ireland and writing from an Irish perspective that was full of the knowledge of history, but a contemporary voice that wasn't, just all fiddle music and fiddle tunes, and which I love. I had a trad band in Seattle for a long time, but it really opened a door for me for figuring out that it's okay for me as Joe Jencks to write about Ireland in my own voice as it exists now. I don't have to be a trad player per se. I can just be a singer-songwriter who's influenced by many different things. And when I figured that out, I started writing music that was much more authentic. Because the last thing that they want to hear in Ireland is an American or a Canadian come over and sing a bunch of Irish songs that, are just worn out tropes for them. They're chestnuts. But for me to sing fresh music, new music about my experiences in Ireland, I think is much more interesting to my Irish audiences.
Right.
And I think also informative to my US and Canadian audiences, to dispel a little bit of the mythology and replace it with an awareness of an incredibly vibrant and thriving modern Ireland.
Right. Maria, you just got back from a tour of the UK. How did it go? How was the touring environment in the United Kingdom compared to Canada?
Well, I know that I was very anxious before I left, partly because of all of the hassles of travel last summer that we all heard about in the news, and probably many people experienced. And the tour, I was flying over August 31st, so just at the tail end of that. And we weren't quite sure how easily audiences would come back, because it's a tour of folk clubs, so 50, 60 to 80 sort of in terms of capacity. And the folk club audience, they had lost some of their audience in terms of not coming back to live performances yet.
Right.
But it was wonderful. Once I got over the hump of, I got there safely. I didn't get COVID on the plane. Once the tour started, it was just really lovely to get back into that spirit of sharing music live again. In that kind of a folk club setting, which I love. Shannon Johnson, who's a beautiful violin player and harmony singer, came along with me. She's produced all of my albums, including the Juno Award-winning one. So that was a treat for the two of us to hang out together, and she's very involved with her own band, the McDades. Right. We had this sparser tour than we liked, but we kind of decided, knowing that we're going to make the best of it, we're going to enjoy our time, our experience, we're going to enjoy the beautiful, generous hosts that we're staying with. And I got out for a couple of coastal hikes, which is my thing when I'm over there. So we made the best of it. Right. So it was a little sparser. And then our very second night at the Black Swan Folk Club, this amazing, one of the oldest pubs in York, which is a beautiful city. We were just relaxing after our dinner, waiting for sound check, and Shannon looked at her phone and said, Queen Elizabeth has died. And so that kind of threw things into a little bit of uncertainty, and we lost a couple of performances because of the week of her funeral. But at that point, it was just kind of, I'm here, I got here safely, everything's sorted out, we're ready to play, this is beyond our control. Mm-hmm. We will just flow with it, as musicians have always done, as troubadours, as folk musicians, we've always gone with the flow. We've always had to deal with lots of changes and ups and downs. And then with COVID, that stretched us even further in our capacity as reinventing ourselves, learning new things, learning to go with the flow, trying to stay focused on what's important, which is the music and the muse and the creativity and sharing songs with our communities. So, it just kind of was it's beyond my control.
Right.
But we had a great time in the end, and I have a lot of family. One lovely thing that came about, we were on BBC Traveling Folk, interviewed by Anna Massey, who's just a beautiful musician herself and has also spent time in Ontario as a young person, amazing guitar player and fiddle player. So Shannon and I did a live session of 4 songs for BBC Scotland, and that's available online, I think, for until midnight. So.
All right. But don't leave the concert early.
Exactly.
So, Joe, your latest album is not just about your connection with Ireland. It's like Ireland's connection to North America. The one song on the album is called Winnipeg 1919, which connects the Winnipeg General Strike to Ireland and James Connolly.
Yeah, Maria and I both were in Winnipeg in 2019 for the 100th anniversary of the Winnipeg General Strike. Mitch Podolak helped produce One Last Festival, which made him very happy, which was kind of a fun thing to see because, Mitch had a capacity to be extraordinarily effective at supporting the arts and activism, and he was also a thorn in the side of many people, and he volunteered for the job regularly. And anybody in the folk community knows that. But he was one of the most savvy producers I've ever worked with, and he boasted to me, justifiably so, at the end of his life that he had liberated just under $30 million in grant money over the arc of his life to redistribute to artists and activists. Wow. That is a remarkable lifetime accomplishment for somebody who believes in very strong social values. So for me, my connection to Winnipeg is through a lengthy friendship with Mitch Podolak and Derek Black and their activism and their connection to the history of the West End and this workers' solidarity movement within Winnipeg that was some of it based in the Ukrainian labor temple in Winnipeg and the cooperative labor endeavors that stemmed out of immigrant communities. But I had promised Mitch a song for the occasion. And as soon as I hung up the phone talking to him about the festival, 6 or 8 months earlier, 10 months earlier, I had the notion in my head of what I wanted the song to be, and the melody downloaded just like that. And I just kind of kept it going in my head. But then I found myself on an Air Canada flight from O'Hare to Winnipeg, and I was like, oh God, I forgot to write the words. Like, I have the melody, but I don't have all the words. And at that point, it was too late to do more research. But I had already been to Winnipeg several times and given concerts there and really started to internalize the backstory of the Winnipeg General Strike. So I fancied myself to be one of the workers, to be in that place in that time, and to write a song that felt endemic to the era and to the labor songs of the era. But yeah, James Connolly, a very famous Irish revolutionary and labor organizer, spent 9 years in North America, most of it in the States, but some of it in Canada. And he was studying organizing tactics that the Wobblies, the industrial workers of the world in Canada, known as the OBU, the One Big Union, he was studying organizing tactics that they were using, and he brought those back to Ireland and helped create a more thriving modern labor movement. And then, of course, it was executed in 1916 for his role in the uprising. But those models of organizing played into the Irish War of Independence from 1919 to 1921. So there really is this deep connection between multiple immigrant communities in Winnipeg and the labor organizing. And that song, I wasn't sure where it would fit, what album it would come out on. And when I started focusing in on stories not just of Ireland, but of the diaspora spread out in various parts of the world, I suddenly realized that there was this really vivid connection between the Wobblies and Connolly and the Winnipeg General Strike. And so it was a fun story to tell. And it's a privilege as a songwriter to know a community well enough that is outside your home country, that you can authentically write about it without feeling like a poser. You know, but I had so many conversations with Mitch and Derek about the history that it was all up here, and I spent 4 hours on that Air Canada flight just just playing with ideas. And I'm sure I annoyed the crap out of the people that were next to me on the plane. But by the time I got to Winnipeg, I had a song.
There you go. Well, I think that fills the intermission, and people are getting back into their seats. So I just want to thank Joe and Maria once again for coming and entertaining us tonight, and hope you enjoy the second half of the show.
Thank you. I wanted to just cycle back briefly to your opening question about why we're doing this. Many of the things that Maria just said is part of why we do work together, is that we share a common perspective on a lot of things. But we have a lot of fun making music together. The way that we think about melody, the way that we relate to both the traditions that our music rises from and what we do with it in a modern context. There's really tremendous synergy. So it's a joy anytime we get to work together.
Absolutely.
And it matters not just that you respect somebody's body of work as an artist, but that you respect them as a person. And there's nobody that I travel with or share a stage with anywhere in North America that I respect more than Maria Dunn.
Joe Jencks, right back at you. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Great.